our next presentation on overcoming the challenges of volume hiring, how to scale up your recruiting capacity with the support of a strategic RPO partner. This next presentation is by our partner, Advanced RPO, and we actually have three presenters. I'm going to introduce Pam Verhoff first. Pam Verhoff is the president of Advanced RPO, an accomplished executive leader that has extensive experience building RPO business solutions as well as developing growth strategy. Pam is currently responsible for all aspects of strategic planning, sales and marketing, operations, financial management, and compliance for Advanced RPO. Another of the presenters that you're going to be having an opportunity to listen to right now is Kevin. Kevin is a program director at Advanced RPO and oversees the delivery of RPO programs to some of Advanced RPO's largest customers. He has been managing client relationships for over 5 years, and prior to his role, he spent 5 years actually as a recruiter. He has been with Advanced RPO for over 11 years and consistently demonstrated his drive to do whatever it takes to meet the client's needs. And the third presenter is Jenna, a manager of sourcing and talent strategy at Advanced RPO. She develops sourcing strategies for a variety of positions across wide geographic landscape and uses research, networking, and database mining to develop a continuous and diverse prospective candidate pipeline. My great honor to lead with you, Jenna, Kevin, and Pam, for the session on overcoming the challenges of volume hiring.
Hey, good morning and afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I am going to share my screen. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate everybody that has joined us here today. Today's discussion really centers around the need to evolve your talent acquisition function. Today's environment is dramatically different than it was a year ago and even at the start of this year. Therefore, we believe if you don't have the right structure, process, technology, you're likely going to be challenged to bring the best talent into your organization. So, I'm joined today, and thank you for the introductions. As they indicated, I lead the Advanced RPO team, and Advanced RPO is a recruitment outsourcing firm, and our objective is simple. It's really to make hiring easier for our customers. I've been in the talent acquisition industry for the majority of my career, and really just simply love working with our team, developing the team, and helping them solve hiring challenges for our customers. I'm joined today by two key leaders. You might be wondering why do you need three people presenting? But we want to bring our expertise and share experiences with you. Kevin is a program director. He's been with Advanced RPO for 10 years, and in his role is really responsible for leading the strategy and execution for some of our largest programs. And he has clients that range from warehouse and distribution to very high level software services. So Kevin, I think we'll start by if you could just share what's one of the biggest challenges that you're experiencing today with today's market.
One of the biggest challenges we're seeing is just the drastic change in an 18-month period, and what that's having on interviewing manager expectations, interviewing styles, things of that nature. I would say almost everything throughout the process has changed. And the key is just it's a massive competition for talent, and you have to adapt, and you have to adapt quickly throughout the entire program, or you're going to be behind, and you're going to lose top talent to some of your competition.
Yeah, very, very real. Absolutely. And I have with me as well Jenna Hinrichsen. She leads our sourcing and talent strategy team. Jenna's she's been in talent acquisition for 20 years and has spent the last 4.5 with Advanced RPO. Her role is absolutely critical, especially in today's market where candidate attraction and engagement are really so challenging. Jenna's team supports all of our account teams. Therefore, similar to Kevin, her team is supporting our recruiters that are hiring, hourly individuals all the way up through the VP level. Jenna, welcome. And what's your greatest challenge really from an applicant standpoint?
I think what's shocking me and probably other people is the lingering of the tight talent market, labor market. So as things start to open up post-COVID, the labor market is not easing at the same pace, and so it's causing a lot of tension in the market to bring the right applicants in and the volume that you need to fill jobs.
Yeah, yeah. We will elaborate on both of those points as we go through today's presentation. So our goal today is really help you understand the reality of what's happening in the market and share our experiences on how to most effectively compete for top talent. The landscape, I mean, literally changes daily. So that really requires a very comprehensive yet agile approach to talent acquisition. We're going to start by really talking about kind of where things stand today. I mean, it is truly a wild time. I've been, as I said, in the industry for a very, very long time and really have never experienced anything like we are today. Certainly the recovery that we're experiencing is V-shaped as we come out of this pandemic. You know, confidence has returned in the majority of the industries, and therefore companies need to hire, and they need to hire quickly. You know, with many of our clients, what we're seeing is, you know, they're really playing catch up. They really didn't hire for 8 to 10 to maybe 12 months, and now that they've opened up requisitions, it's like they've just opened the spigots. And so the need to respond and react is unlike anything we've experienced in quite some time. At the same time, consumer behavior has shifted, and so we're really seeing, you know, no surprise, but you know, e-commerce jobs have grown. Just, you know, last year they grew 73% and just are continuing to grow. And along with that, then you know, along that same vein, there are all those supporting industries, transportation, logistics, customer service, and so on, that is supporting that e-commerce, the increase in e-commerce. That's really where we're seeing the most extreme growth right now with regard to hiring. The other, you know, interesting, and this is not uncommon, but you know, not every region is affected equally, if you will. Orlando, LA, Las Vegas, you know, they were certainly impacted dramatically by the pandemic. And so those are the locations that right now are seeing the sharpest increases in volumes as, you know, as we come out and we're responding to that. But the bottom line is it is really a candidate market. We're going to talk a lot about the changes in candidate behaviors and how that really impacts how you should approach, or how we're approaching talent acquisition. As you know, as confidence has resumed, you know, we really look at the foundation of the economy, which is number of job postings, and we saw double-digit growth in April. Unfortunately, as Jenna indicated, we haven't necessarily seen the applicant growth at that same rate, and interestingly enough, it's the inverse. It's almost the more jobs that have been posted, the fewer candidates that have applied. So it's really a conundrum, if you will, that we're facing with primarily on the high volume hourly side, but we're really starting to see that elevate and push up into the exempt roles as well. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are certainly a headline, and it absolutely needs to be embedded in your talent acquisition process. A couple of statistics that you see there: 45% of candidates expect to learn about a company's diversity and inclusion efforts throughout the hiring process. So what does that mean? That means every touch is an opportunity to sell it. It also, you need to be prepared, and you know, if you have candidates interacting with multiple individuals or electronically throughout the process, messaging really needs to be consistent. 70% of candidates want to work for a company that demonstrate their commitment to DE&I. So, you know, you really need to take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, you know, are we really doing this? You know, this is a big change in candidate behavior. You know, additional, you know, well-being programs are also very important to candidates, more so today than ever. So, if these are the things, and the data shows us that these are the things that are important to candidates, you better bet that they're going to choose to work for employers that are demonstrating this as, throughout their recruiting process. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to those that actually do it day to day. And start with really, what really has changed. And I'll turn it over to Jenna first.
Yeah, so we're all feeling it. The competition is obviously fierce, and not just for bringing new talent into your organization, but also for maintaining and retaining existing talent. There are so many options available to candidates today and to your current employees. It's really important that you're asking yourself, as talent acquisition leaders and as organizations, what are you doing to be competitive, and what is your competition doing? So not just your consumer competitors, but your talent competitors in your market. Are you offering similar things? Are they offering more than what you're offering? And that really has an impact, as Pam said, on the people that you're able to bring on board. If your competition is offering things that you're not, you're also at risk for losing existing talent. So it's just really important to look at and be honest with yourself as leaders and as organizations. Are you up to par with what candidates are looking for in today's labor market?
Kevin, you have a perspective as well in terms of what's changed.
In honor of our upcoming Tokyo Olympics, keeping candidates engaged as an Olympic sport is what I like to say, and I think it's really a little bit joking, but really it's a focus on that organization-wide, not just TA, but across your entire company. The candidate is becoming the most precious commodity you have, and you really need to understand that you are in a competition for that person. There are 9 million more open jobs out there than there are people to fill them today. So if you have a real quality candidate, you can be sure that he or she is not only speaking to you. And if that person, feels that you are dragging your feet or you are not moving as fast as the other opportunities, you never want to be the 4th or 5th or 6th offer that a company or that a candidate receives. So the need for speed is incredible. That doesn't mean you need to cut quality and you need to drop every part of your process and just hire everyone that shows up. But waiting 3 weeks for a panel interview is not going to cut it. You're going to lose. You're only going to be panel interviewing the worst candidate that you see. Ghosting happens because of that speed. We have roles. We have certain positions that we're working on where for every step of the process we lose 50% of the candidates. So when you want to add in another step, you just got to cut your candidate pool in half and determine whether or not that step is going to be worth losing the top 50% of your pool to your competition. If it can't happen on a phone, it won't happen. This is critical. 80% of applications candidates are either working on a tablet or a phone. Very few things are happening on a computer anymore. And if you have stages in your process where a candidate needs to log into a browser on a laptop, you're not going to see that candidate again. And opportunities to gain new skills, right? So what are we selling to the candidate? Is how I take that is, what are we saying that is driving the candidates who want to stay in this process? Because again, your competition's selling them on everything they got. So it's a bit of a mind shift from where we were 2 years ago in the talent acquisition space.
Yeah, and to that last note, with regard to opportunities to gain new skills, candidates are certainly looking to grow and develop. So it kind of goes back to how you're defining roles as well. We sometimes you have hiring managers that are looking, they want a candidate that already knows how to do everything they're expected to do in this new role. Everybody is looking for growth and development. So therefore, really understand, what skills are necessary or what experience is necessary and what can be trained and be seen as development opportunities for
Absolutely.
Candidates moving into those roles.
Yep.
So building a talent pipeline is absolutely critical and really the foundation of talent acquisition. So Jenna's going to talk to that point or to that topic.
Yes. So the one size does not fit all is really important here. It's critical to understand the market that you're recruiting in, and every market is different and it's constantly changing and evolving. So who your competitors are in that particular market, the geographical landscape in terms of commuting. Are people going into the office? Where are they commuting from? Where are they commuting to for the types of positions that you're hiring? Are you competitive in those spaces? Cost of living in the markets that you're recruiting in. Everything is supply and demand. Everything increases as the demand increases. Your need to pay and to bring additional talent in is going to increase. So what you were paying previously, even a month ago, 2 months ago, in a particular market may not be competitive today. On the next, Pam, if you want to go to the next slide, I think so. So this just kind of talks about the supply and demand piece, and what your competition is really doing in each market. So again, if what you're paying in one market versus what you're paying in another market, you really have to look at, is that competitive in that market, and ask yourself, how can we be bringing talent in these locations? What are some of the things that we can be doing if we can't increase pay, for example? Are there other benefits or things that you can be leveraging and selling to get candidates in the door?
And Jenna, what about how can job postings impact your candidate pipeline as well?
Well, job postings are really important. You want to have visibility in the markets that you're in. And so the more visible your jobs are and your positions are to candidates, the better. And you want those to be desirable, right? So I think with job postings, back in the day, there were a lot of checklists or laundry lists of what things we're looking for in applicants. And it's really important to have today, in today's labor market, to have job postings that really speak to the applicants and really sell your organization and sell the opportunity to the candidate. The candidates are really interviewing companies and managers today, probably more so than you are interviewing them. So as Kevin mentioned earlier, it really is a mind shift in how we're engaging candidates, how we're interviewing them, and how we are courting them through that entire process.
Yeah, and even, as I said earlier, around the diversity and wellness and so on, that information has to be very visible to candidates at every touch point.
So then the 24/7 recruiting is really, this is a round the clock race, as Kevin mentioned, again, not having to necessarily cut things out of your process, but really making sure that you are aware and engaged at all times in all markets, and really understanding what your competition is doing. So, what is your value proposition? What are you offering to candidates and to your existing employees, right? Again, you have to look at your existing employees almost as candidates, because they're being courted. You can rest assured they're being courted by other companies. And then your value proposition is going to be different at different levels. So if you're looking at a more entry-level position, your value proposition for those types of workers is not necessarily going to be the same for someone at the executive level. So really looking at things much more in much more detail than we have historically. And then how and where are you sharing that information? So your value proposition, where are you sharing and where are you marketing and selling your company? Can candidates and future candidates see what you have to offer? Are you on social? Are you getting your information out to the right people at the right times? That's a really critical piece to the puzzle. And then again, just going back to what's working and what's not working, it's really important through this whole process to be capturing data at all points and then really analyzing that data. And again, being honest with yourself. If something's not working, really looking at what are your other options? What can you do in this time, in this labor market, to have an impact? We're in a candidate-driven market right now. It's not always going to be that way, but in order to play in today's game, if you will, you have to adapt to what other companies are doing if you want to stay in the race.
Yeah, I would just add too that this continuous analysis, you're always up about, you're always have to evaluate day to day, right? Sometimes your strategy works for 4, 5, 6 days in a row. Sometimes it works for 2 days and then it's not working anymore because your competition changed. And so you need to be committed to evaluating it constantly and recognizing that once you've solved it, that means you solved it for today, and it may change again on you tomorrow. We are seeing an incredibly rapidly changing marketplace out there, and everybody being as hyper focused on bringing in talent. Big players in each of these industries are making changes almost daily, and so you need to be committed to adapting as well.
Well, and Kevin, to that point, Kevin and I work together daily on his accounts, but we have a weekly meeting scheduled to really look at strategy and data and such. And we have had to do that much more frequently, obviously, than weekly. In the past, weekly seemed like kind of pretty frequent to be looking at that. And it was important for us to stay ahead of the curve. But now, yes, we're having multiple conversations a day and having to change pieces of our strategy just to stay competitive.
There's a question that came in about the EVPs on this slide. Is it best practice to have multiple EVPs for various levels? And if so, how do you advertise multiple messages in a cohesive way? I would say, you can include a similar branding, a similar EVP in each level. It's really what you're emphasizing, right? Because your EVP is across the board. An example to use is, we have a client who's, at their manager and executive levels, they cover 100% of healthcare costs, right? And that's a huge, piece of their proposition at those levels, and it really resonates well. At the lower level, it doesn't resonate as well at the hourly, the entry level. But when they up their things by $1, when they up their rates by $1, that resonates so much more, right? And so you just have to put yourself in the eyes of who's applying and what you're going to emphasize. It doesn't say drop that portion from your job description, right? But what are you leading with? What is your team communicating to that team, to that level, to each level, is something you really do need to think through.
We got a question via chat. I'm not sure if you want to address it now that we're in the conversation. And this from Katie: is it best practice to have multiple EVPs for those various levels? And if so, how do you advertise multiple messages in a cohesive way?
We just did that one, Tanisha. I just saw that come through. I jumped before you on that. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Just like what you need to do in recruiting, staying one step ahead. We're programmed now.
I missed a second and I completely went off track there. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Good thing you got the chance to answer. I think this is the best way to just get questions as they come, so we don't lose the conversation that we were having that generated the question. Go ahead.
All right. And Kevin, we're going to jump over then to really executing day in and day out against these needs.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of people's head goes to, okay, we have new challenges. We need to move faster. Let's use more technology. And we are all in favor of additional technology investments in those areas. As you can see across the industry, various technologies here are being leveraged significantly more than they were prior to the pandemic. The challenge you run into is you can over automate these programs. And again, it's put yourself in the shoes of the candidate. It's such a candidate driven market right now. You cannot replace the human interaction with these people by only automating your entire process. There are companies out there that are trying to go from chatbot to automated video interview to AI making the determination of who we're going to hire. And then through that process, while it sounds great from a cost perspective, that candidate didn't talk to a single person and didn't get their questions answered and didn't get their hand held through the role. So there's always that balance. The way we recommend leveraging technology, and the way we do it internally is we give our recruiters and our screeners and our coordinators the tools they need to make themselves more productive. So text messaging is a critical portion of that. When the candidate would prefer to text other than getting a phone call, that's great. In those scenarios, we'll text with the candidate. bend to what the candidate would like to do. But we're not, it's still a person on the other side of that. And it's not just totally automated. You can add chatbots and fill in gaps in your process. You can add video interviews to make the process faster so that you're not flying candidates all over the country and wait weeks to do that. All of these things can be added to the process to make it faster and make it a better candidate experience, but it all needs to be done through the eyes of the candidate experience and how we're coming across to the market. Hiring manager misconceptions is another one we're really starting to run into as companies are reopening. A lot of hiring managers have not hired in 12 to 18 months, right? Things have been on hold. Things have been, really, not in front of mind if they have been hiring at all. We are, these people are coming back into this program it's a totally different market than what they left. When we, 2 years ago, we would have been on this call talking about how do we add assessments and add strategic interviewing techniques to get to that perfect candidate ahead of time and not really care about how long that took. Now we care, for our clients, we're caring almost exclusively about how fast. How can we not remove steps, but do them each faster? And I think that's a really hard change for hiring managers to hear. The biggest takeaway from this slide is we just really need to educate our managers on how the world has changed. And the biggest one is a lot of managers still try to operate by that mantra that my job is to screen candidates out. And that sometimes takes the form of 5 different rounds of interviews with 52 different people and this, kind of ugly, we're gonna run these candidates through the ringer type mentality, interview sessions. And that's just not working in today's environment, right? We need to be selling our opportunities, selling our EVP, and selling against the competition that we know these candidates are interviewing with. You have to just assume they're interviewing with all of your competition. And so how do we interview them as much as they're interviewing us? I mean, they're interviewing us is really the key to this scenario and the difference from 3 and 4 years ago.
I think, Kevin, also that's the same whether you're doing your hiring internally or whether you're outsourcing it. So if you're struggling internally to do that and you think, well, I'm going to outsource it and then someone else can hit all these key points and steps and get me the right candidates, and then I don't have to worry about that. Whoever you have doing your hiring is going to be working in the exact same market. So it's important to look at internally, or if you're working with a vendor to do hiring for you.
Right.
Yeah, the recruiting team is really far more consultative today or needs to be more consultative than they ever have.
Right. And KPIs are the key, right? So these KPIs haven't really changed. These are still a lot of the same stuff we were tracking before the pandemic. But the results, the readings have changed drastically. And so I think one of the big keys here is a lot of companies have kind of put their talent acquisition on ice, and it's starting to come back to life in 2021. You need to be tracking this stuff from the beginning to have any sense of what's going on. And you need to have real reporting strategies around how we're going to report on this. What do these mean? And when your quality, your satisfaction scores fall off the table, what are we going to do about it? And so, the key here is it's a lot of the same stuff that you've seen always in TA, but the numbers that we're getting are very different. And how are we digesting those and turning them back into that strategy of adapting and changing your process quickly.
Yeah, this is, business intelligence is really the key here. We've talked a lot about the different technologies and data. Data's coming from, various platforms and having that all consolidated in one place and evaluating that data is absolutely critical. So just as a quick wrap up, at the end of the day, I think the key to competing for talent right now is agility, and talent acquisition really has to be an agile function that's supporting the business need. And you really do that through being nimble, rapidly responding to real-time changes, having the ability to scale quickly up and down. You know, we've experienced both of those in the last 12 months. You know, talent acquisition must have expertise in talent strategy and engagement, recruiting, technology, program management. I just mentioned, you know, more so than ever, we need to be consulting our customers in the business as opposed to just tactically supporting them. And you can be transparent through the use of data and the importance of data throughout this process, which ultimately then delivers the results to the business and is essentially successful. So that is all of the prepared information that we had today. Are there have any other questions popped up into the chat?
Question. Corianne was saying that the slide before the last one, it makes her laugh and cry. And I think a lot of professionals can relate to that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Pam, Kevin, or Jenna. I'm just going to drop the Advanced RPO site there. So if you want to connect with them or get any additional information on the processes and how they can aid you in the volume recruiting, whether that be strategizing or execution, feel free to reach out to Advanced RPO. If you want to connect with either of the speakers directly, feel free to shoot us a quick chat and they'll be happy to share their contact information with you. Again, giving it a few seconds if someone has any questions so that you can type in there. And if not, then we'll just say bye to Pam, Kevin, and Jenna.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Last question. What tool do you use for mobile texting?
We use Text Recruit. It's an iSIMS product.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. And again, if you want to connect and get any additional info, feel free to reach out to Advanced RPO using the link that I just dropped on our chat box. We're moving